What's up, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here, and I've got a graphic novel that I want to talk to you guys about. World War Hulk, written by Greg Pak and drawn by John Romita Jr. This is a 5-issue miniseries that came out in like 2007, 2008. I didn't Google to see when this came out. It came out after Civil War, and basically the premise is the Hulk was shot into outer space by a group of superheroes who felt that he was a menace to planet Earth, and then he lived for a little while on this very rough and tumble planet, and you can read about that in the story Planet Hulk, and then something happens and he gets really mad and he wants to come back to planet Earth to seek revenge against the people who wronged him, and that's the story that we get here. And I have got to say, this book is extremely disappointing. Number one, it has been like 5 years since I read Planet Hulk, and just reading this, what it really feels like, it doesn't feel like a separate story. It really feels like Planet Hulk is 4/5 of a story, and then they waited a year or so to do the rest of the story, and this is the conclusion to what we had in Planet Hulk. And that's weird because Planet Hulk is like 14 issues total, and you would think that that would be plenty of room to tell a complete story, but in a lot of ways, this is the climax of that story. This is the emotional payoff of stuff that was going on in Planet Hulk. And it feels really disappointing when you read World War Hulk and you haven't read Planet Hulk in like 5 years. And that's what happened to me. And a lot of this just feels kind of empty, and it doesn't really feel like it means anything. And I will say, if you are expecting a story just reading this, you are going to be disappointed. And if you are expecting the Hulk fighting the Marvel Universe for 5 issues, you're probably going to be very pleased, because that's a lot of what this is. You have an issue where the Hulk fights Black Bolt, then you have Hulk fighting Iron Man and Reed Richards, and the Sentry gets thrown in there. And a lot of it just feels like it was geared towards those people who spend most of their time online arguing about which character is stronger than the other. People who like to argue about, would Namor be able to defeat the Hulk, stuff like that. And I'm not dissing those people, it's just that's not my thing. I don't really care about which character is stronger than the other. That's never been interesting to me, but this feels like it's geared towards them. It does not really have very much of a story at all, because it's the conclusion of another story. And now that I've said all of that, I'm going to get into some spoilers a little bit. So if you haven't read this book, then I am going to be spoiling what happens here and something that happens at the end of Planet Hulk. So if you haven't read either of those, then mute the video or something like that. I don't know when I'm going to be done doing spoilers. So at the end of Planet Hulk, Meek is one of the Warbound, and he sets off a bomb that was in the Hulk spaceship that he came to Sakaar on. And so this bomb destroys a huge amount of the population of Sakaar. I was never really clear on how many people died in that explosion, but it was a gigantic explosion, killed like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people, probably thousands and thousands of people. And so Hulk, he thinks that the Illuminati, Iron Man, Black Bolt, Professor X, Reed Richards, all of them, he thinks that they have set this bomb on the ship to kill him after he is away from planet Earth. And so he brings his Warbound and a lot of the rest of Sakaar with him to planet Earth so that he can get revenge on them. And then we find out at the very end of this miniseries, no, it wasn't those superheroes who left the bomb on the ship. It was Meek. He deliberately exploded like a third of the population of Sakaar. And when I was reading Planet Hulk, and bear in mind I haven't read it in a very long time, but I was under the impression that Meek accidentally set off the bomb, and then he was like, okay, well, since this explosion has happened, now we can do what we are intending to do. We find out here, no, Meek deliberately set off that bomb so that he could he thinks that the Hulk needs to be a force of destruction. At the end of Planet Hulk, Hulk basically had his happy ending. He had a queen, he had a baby on the way, and he basically was there. He had arrived. He didn't have to be the Hulk smash anymore. He didn't have to be a fighter anymore. And Meek believed that that was his purpose, being a fighter. He didn't think that the Hulk needed to be a benevolent ruler with a happy life. So he sets off this bomb to try and put Hulk back on the path that he believed the Hulk needed to be on. And that's why I think this really feels out of place when you read it so far away from Planet Hulk. And really, it needs to just be part of Planet Hulk. It feels really wrong that they made this its own miniseries. What should have happened was, at the end of what we got in Planet Hulk, after the explosion, then it should have just been 5 issues in the Incredible Hulk series, right after Planet Hulk, where Hulk comes back to try and fight the Marvel Universe. This should have been just an extension of Planet Hulk instead of what it is, which is a separate event that feels really meaningless and empty without Planet Hulk as context. And also, it's just not very well written. There's one part very early on when the Hulk has come to Earth and he's saying, okay, I want to fight Iron Man and Black Bolt and Mr. Fantastic. I want all of those guys, Doctor Strange. I want them here, and if you give them to me, then I'm not going to destroy your world. And then Iron Man goes to Sentry and says, hey, you used to be friends with the Hulk. We need you to go and fight him. And so the Sentry says, okay, and then he leaves his house, and then Iron Man turns around, and there's the Sentry, and he says, we need to talk. And he's like shaded all dark and creepy looking, and so I'm thinking, oh, what's going on here? And then we have to wait 5 issues to find out that the Sentry is an agoraphobe, and he doesn't like leaving his house, which is complete garbage, because in the first issue of this story, the Sentry is telling Mr. Fantastic and Iron Man that he went and prevented a tornado from killing a bunch of people, and he stopped an earthquake and a volcano erupting. So clearly, he has no problem leaving his house at all. But then we find out, oh, he sometimes has a problem leaving his house. And so after he just left his house to go fight the Hulk, he then comes back and says, I changed my mind, I don't want to do it. And that is just sloppy writing right there. Number one, I am 99% certain that that is not how agoraphobia works. It is not selective. You don't get to leave the house sometimes, and then sometimes you decide that you're going to stay in for today because you're afraid of the outside world. That is not how it works. If you wanted the Sentry to wait until issue 5 to go and take on the Hulk because you knew when you went into this story that he was the only one who could defeat the Hulk when he's this angry, then you should have just had the Sentry be in one of his weird psychotic moods, because as has been set up with previous stories using the Sentry, he has a dark side called the Void, and when the Void is in control, he's very, very evil. And what they should have done, they should have just had him tell Iron Man, no, I can't go out there, I'm afraid that I'll lose control of the Void. Instead of throwing around all this garbage about him having agoraphobia, and furthermore, making us wait 5 issues to find out why the Sentry didn't leave his house in the first place to go fight the Hulk. That's just bad writing, it's very sloppy, and I hate to say it, but it's what I come to expect from Greg Pak. I went into this really not sure what to expect. I have heard a lot of people say that this story isn't very good, and on the converse, I've heard a lot of people say that Planet Hulk is absolutely fantastic. And I myself have had some very hit or miss experiences with the works of Greg Pak. I personally really enjoyed Planet Hulk when I read it way back then. And then you have books like Phoenix Endsong and Phoenix Warsong, which I didn't really like. And then you have something like Doctor Strange Season 1, which I really liked. And so I really had no idea what I was going to get into when I got this. And ultimately, I really didn't like it. It wasn't written very well. It feels like it's just a bunch of fight scenes with no context around them, because this is just part of another story that's being sold separately. And that it infuriates me when that kind of thing happens. It would be like if you bought a Batman action figure and then you open the box and it's just the cape and you have to go and pay that much money to go get the rest of the action figure. It really feels like that's what you're getting here, where this is the cape. This is not the whole story. This isn't even part of a story. This is like 1/12 of a story, because this is just the climax to a story that came out earlier. And it's really disappointing that this ended up being as bad as it was. It's not the worst Hulk story that I've ever read. People who have been on this channel for a while, they know that I reviewed Volume 1 of Jeff Loeb's Hulk run, which came immediately after this, and this is not that bad, but it's also just not really good. It's very forgettable. I would say half a year from now, I'm going to forget a lot of what happened here, because it's basically just a lot of fight scenes. It's a lot of the Hulk screaming and punching the ground and punching other people. And if that's what you want in a story, then I highly recommend that you get this. But for me, I want substance. I want an actual story, and that's not what I got here. And I hate to say it, I do not recommend this book at all. So that's what I have to say about World War Hulk. I hope that you guys liked this video. Do you agree with me? Have you read World War Hulk? If you have, let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you did like this video, be sure to like, share, and comment, and subscribe. Do all those things that you love doing on YouTube videos. And I am not going to be doing a video for tomorrow. Tomorrow is Thanksgiving in the United States of America, so I am going to be taking a little bit of an off day tomorrow, and I will see you guys once again this Saturday with a review of an episode of Batman Beyond. I'll be doing a review of an episode of Batman Beyond, and then next week I'll be back on track doing 4 videos a week, just like I always do. So, until then, I will see you guys later. Have a great rest of the day. Catch you later.